Hello, everybody. I hope you are doing well. If not, I hope you're at least safe. And I was about to say, experiencing this wonderful day, today fucking sucks. It is so damn hot. I can't survive. I can't survive when it comes to the heat. But anyways, nonetheless, that doesn't matter. What matters is you. And right now, as you see on the title, this will be about if you're feeling lost and hopeless. If you're feeling lost and hopeless, that's actually a good thing. And you might be thinking, what the fuck, Zephyr? What do you mean this is fucking good? Like, where I'm at right now is fucking terrible. I have no ambitions. I don't know what to fucking do with my life. I lost, my family. I lost my partner. How is this fucking good? And, I understand, but just bear with me for a second. Anytime that we face, a challenge, let's say with work, you've been with this job for a few weeks, you've been with this job for a few years, they let you go, they fired you, you have no job, you end up feeling lost. You're wondering how you're going to pay the bills, how are you going to support yourself? Right now, I don't have a job. Recently, and this is gonna get dark, I guess. It is pretty dark. It's something that I don't wish for anyone to experience. But a few months ago, I was homeless. I was at a shelter trying to get back on my feet, try to find my own independence. And at the time, I wasn't in contact with my family. I'll explain that more in a different video, but the reason, I would say the short answer is because, I needed to be there for myself. I went through so much with my family, and not in a good way. Both sides of my family, my mom's side and my dad's side, and I just had to choose myself. I had to really take care of myself, and to do that, I had to separate. So, and that happened for years. Until last year in December, I believe, I got a call, and a detective, I picked up the phone, and the detective answered. They were trying to look for me. My short story is my dad hired a detective to let me know that my oldest brother took his life. And, I needed to know. So, that was the first time, I ended up, after getting my dad's number again, I ended up talking to him, talking to my family, see what really happened. So, it's not what I wanted, to how to, you know, if I were ever to get back into contact with my family, this was definitely not the way that I pictured. But I had a choice whether to stay there at the shelter or to, you know, move back in with my dad and grieve with the family. I chose the second option. I am. You know, ever since my brother passed away, and the reason why I'm not so emotional is because yesterday I let it all out. I cried. I actually did a video, but for some reason, just the quality was really, really bad, and it was choppy, like I was lagging, so I guess that wasn't the time for me to, I don't know, put that video up. So I'm creating a new one. But, you know, after that, for a few months, I felt so lost, and especially coming back to my family, and not knowing what to expect, not knowing if they stayed the same or they changed and this is actually going to work out. You know, having no job. You know, where do I go from here? Like, I want to still continue with my life. I need to do what's best for me. Where do I go here? So, it's been a few months of grieving, and I'm still grieving every day. You know, just wondering what made him give up, what made him, like, really pull the last straw. You know, and as for someone who's been through that, been through being suicidal just so many times and has attempted to take my own life, I know how that feels. I know what it feels like to be at the dead end of your life, thinking that this is it. You know, there's nothing else to live for. I'm all for nothing. This is all for nothing. You know, and even if, like, you're not thinking there, either way, you're dead wrong. You're so fucking dead wrong. You know, the times that I was about to do it and just something made me stop. You know, and as hard as it was, especially the situations I was in, I kept going. And eventually I learned how to, you know, use this darkness, you know, to alchemize it, to turn it into fire, turn it into something that's going to help me grow. And I wish my brother would have done the same thing for himself. You know, he kept trying to find a way. But I want to send this message for you guys, because there's always a fucking way. And some of you be like, well, how is there a fucking way when, you know, you lost your brother. Like, how do you get back up after that? You know, the thing is that you don't for a long fucking while. And it hits harder because not only did I lose my brother, but I lost my mom. I mean, first I lost my mom when I was like 7 or 8, so I never really got to experience having a mom. But then for her reason why she passed away, it's might as well call it, you know, taking your own life. She just gave up. She just gave up. You know, so for my oldest brother, you know, actually doing it, taking his life, it hits harder. But I promise you, there's always a way. You know, when it comes to experiencing negative things in your life, you can't let it take you. You can't see it for how it is. And sorry, I'm doing this and the camera's all shaky. Sorry. You can't. If you really want to grow, if you really want to strive, if you really want a way out of the mental torment in your mind, of the situations you're in, you got to find another fucking way and not fucking give in. And yes, I'm saying this with so much aggression and passion, is because, you know, I believe in you. But most importantly, you need to believe in yourself, and I especially don't want anyone else to go through, you know, feeling so lost and hopeless that you just want to end it, or, you know, you don't even have to, like, or you just completely give up on yourself and you don't really live a life that is meant for you because of what other people say, because of what your own fucking mind says. Like, that's bullshit. You know, and we meet people, we get family members, we get friends, well, I guess family members too. We get partners, we get people in our lives that think that our life is theirs. Like, no, you already have your own fucking life. If you want to be this and that, you go ahead. But I don't have to be that way. You know, in our mind, it's like a parrot, you know? Especially when it comes to the pain and hurt that we feel, that we experience. Because mostly our mind is meant to survive, you know? The ego, call it. You know, our ego is there to survive, and it doesn't care what it fucking does, as long as you fucking survive. You know, it'll call you a pussy, it'll call you, you know, fucking lowlife. It'll do whatever it takes. Just as long as you don't put yourself in danger, even if it's just emotionally, even if it's just socially. You know, because even though we're not cavemen people anymore, you know, we live in a world where we survive off of social media. We survive off of, you know, who is better looking. It's a bunch of like I don't know what's the word for it, but a lot of social competition, and a lot of it's ingrained in a lot of our minds that in order to survive, we need to be the most popular, we need to have the biggest butt or boobs, or we need to have the most chicks in our beds. Like, we need to be the smartest, we need to be the most successful in our family, we need to be the one that shows other people that we are better. We are better than them. And, you know, this is not me saying, oh, fucking, you know, leave your ego behind, live all light and love. You know, that's not fucking realistic. Like, we live in this world, and I say the ego is good to have in some ways. But there's a point where you need to realize that your own mind, I'm tired of calling it ego sometimes because I hear it so much. I'm like, but your own mind, your own survival instinct, you know, it fucks you over a lot of the times, and we have to learn how to tweak it in a way where, or put boundaries on it, where we don't let it tell us, like, hey, you can't fucking do this, because if you do that, you can be embarrassment to your family, to people in the past. You know, if you try doing this, if you try going after what you really want, if you really try speaking your mind, you're gonna be a, what's it called? Outcast. You're gonna, oh, my hair. You're gonna be an outcast. You know, no one's gonna like you. No one's gonna want to fucking hear you talk. I don't want to hear you fucking talk. And have you ever noticed that there is, you know, you have thoughts in your mind, and you're like, where the fuck did that came from? I don't agree with this. This shows you that you are not your thoughts. Because if you were truly completely your thoughts, you would have no resistance to it. You would have no, like, there's something, like, I don't fully agree with this. Like, can't we see this another way? That shows you that you, like, it's crazy. Like, we have a mind, but it's truly not our own. It's just kind of, it's really just a parrot that just sees anything and then will just repeat back to you what it sees, what it feels, but it does it in a way to protect you, but protect you to the point where it's willing to crush you. It's willing to isolate you from everybody. It's willing to have you even take your life just so you can feel safe. And that's like, you know, that's why some people say our mind is our own worst enemy, you know, and we don't even know it, you know? So how does this relate to feeling lost and hopeless? You know, and even for myself, especially in the past, so often I would really stick myself to whatever my mind was kind of showing me. Like, hey, you're not good enough. Your family doesn't understand you. They'll never understand you. And in a way that's true, you know, but the way my mind takes it is just like all like doom and gloom and you know, everything is shit, you know, you're never gonna be good enough. And this is where you come in. This is why it's so important to know your own strength, not the strength that your mind tries to imitate, but really seeing who you are under the pressure, under your mind bullying the shit out of you. You know, you facing so many losses, so many challenges outside of you. Because let's face it, you know, as much as, you know, speaking for myself, as much as I've worked on myself, done a lot of healing, not saying that healing is ever like a finish line, it's not. But I'm definitely not the person I used to be. I'm much more stronger. I'm much more mindful. I'm much more myself. Damn it, I forgot what I was gonna say. I get so carried away sometimes that I forget what I'm gonna say. Um, damn it. Well, okay. Well, maybe I'll come back, but you need yourself, and this kind of, I guess, it kind of relates to another video that I made recently-ish. But in this world, you get shown like this is who you are, you know, especially if you get born into a family where they they have repeated patterns of like, no, this is how a man should act, this is how a woman should act, therefore this is how you should act. Like, break that. Challenge everything that you've known. Learn to break out of it. Learn to question it. Is this part of who you really are? Is this part of who you really want to be for yourself? Because so many times we believe that, like, this is it. What we're born into, what we go through life, this is it. This is what life has to offer. And no, it's a lot of it, it's based on the limits that we put on ourselves, the beliefs that we absorb. And the beliefs that we have, it can really kind of set out a path for us to live, even though we've never want to live that path. Like, let's say, you grew up thinking, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. So, the world will present you opportunities just so your belief can fulfill that negative belief. Like, you psyching yourself out, you sabotaging an opportunity that could have really been good for you, because you're holding on to this belief that you are not good enough. You are not smart enough for that. So it's like, we already write out how our life is going to be, and we don't challenge this. We don't challenge our deepest fears. We don't challenge, what's really right, what's really wrong. And that's what really frustrates me. Not saying that it's easy, it's fucking not. Especially if you lived your life. Going by going by what you thought you should be for other people, what you thought you should be for society, what you thought you should be for friends, what you thought you had to deal with in a partner, So, if you ever feel lost and hopeless, you think that this is a dead end. But this is a sign for you to look somewhere else, to look a different direction, other than just, my mind's showing me that it's dead 100 miles out, so this is all it's ever gonna fucking be. Look around. Change your perspective. And I bet you some of you might be getting angry. Good. This is, like, use everything that you can, the emotions, your surroundings. Use everything you can to see a way out. And at first you might be like, well, that doesn't make fucking sense. Like, how the fuck do I do that? I promise you, in your life, there are things that are already here. In your mind that are already here. In your heart that are already here. That are little clues to let you know, like, hey, this is actually a fear that I've been holding on. And this is the way to kind of let it go, or to find a way out when it comes to that. Sorry, I'm being quiet for a second. But there's always a way. Like, don't see the darkness as a darkness. See it as like kind of like have you ever been into those puzzle rooms? I personally haven't. I've always wanted to. Not the scary ones because I'm not ready for that. But there's, you know, you use that room. That room has everything you need. Your mind has everything you need. Your surroundings. And maybe it's not at this moment. Maybe in your room you're like, I don't see anything that, you know, that I can think about that would help me challenge this thought. Sometimes it's not always at this moment. Sometimes it's a little few seconds later. Sometimes it's a day later. But it's good to try to be mindfully aware. Like, what keeps pointing out to you? What keeps repeating? You know? It's like your own fucking... Your life is your own clue game. Your life is your own puzzle room. You know, you have to connect the dots. You have to see what mainly is your life telling you to do for yourself. You know, and sometimes it shows you by doing the opposite, you know? Like you know, if you keep surrounding if you keep surrounding yourself by people who aren't there for you, who fucking, you know, take advantage of you, you know, this is a sign to look into yourself and be like, okay, wait a minute, why do I keep finding people like this? You know, and you start to really look at yourself and be like, what part of me accepts that? What part of me thinks that this is okay? Okay, when did I start to think that this was okay? Maybe this is when you were like 7. Maybe it happened when you know, your mom guilt tripped you into giving her money because she's family, you know? It's little examples like that. So I promise you, you aren't lost. Things aren't as dark as they seem. And this isn't saying like forget the whole reality of it, because for example, like with my brother, he's gone. You know, I'm never getting him back in the way that I know. And I say it like that because, you know, I believe that there is an afterlife. I believe, I don't know, in some way I will see him again. But for now, you know, I don't. You know, and I have to deal with that pain. I have to deal with that heartbreak. You know, also with my mom, you know, I'm never getting her back either. I know I'm always someone that is very self-expressive and tells people like, yeah, express yourself, but crying in front of people is something that I still struggle with. So that's something I gotta challenge myself. I have been. But you know, that's not gonna go away, the pain of the reality of things. But with my brother's death, I'm not gonna let that stop me. You know, I still have my life. I still need to do what's best for me, you know? And I'm still holding on to him. You know, I hold on to the good memories that we had. You know, his smile, the way that he would bug me. You know, I'm still holding on to that. And you know, my own reason to keep a little, or I guess kind of a big reason that I'm keeping on, you know, I'm still going, is because I want to prove him wrong. You know, for me, I believe like he's watching over me. And I want to show him fucking wrong, like no, you, like, I'll show you what it's like to live. You know, that you didn't have to give in. you know, because I'm not gonna give in. And he would have, I know he wouldn't have want me to take my life, so yeah. But that's it for the video. I hope that this message helps you and helps you even just start a crack in your mind, you know, in yourself, and start to perceive things differently. You know, there's always a fucking way out. And it's not always in the way you think. Like I said again before I go, you know, people may think, well, the way out is if, you know, if I get my brother back. But the reality is I won't, you know. But I can't let his death crush me. I can't, you know, yes, I will have those days where it would really crush me and I would feel, you know, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do anything with my life. And you know, there's times where you do gotta acknowledge those parts. You do gotta acknowledge those times where you really feel defeated. I'm not saying, you know, like I said earlier, you know, don't act all love and light, because that's denying, you know, that there's really something wrong going on. But also, don't let the darkness, don't let the chaotic times, don't let your mind take over and make you see everything as doom and gloom. You know, there's what's it? There's both sides to the coin, right? There's light and there's darkness, and we need both of them. We need both of them. But we gotta learn how to integrate it in a way where we're getting lessons, we're getting gifts, we're getting new knowledge. We're getting something from both sides, and we're not neglecting any of that. We're not neglecting feeling the pain. We're not neglecting experiencing the hurt, the pain that we feel, the emptiness, the I'm done with this bullshit feeling, you know. But we're also not gonna neglect the positive sides of life, the blessings, even if it's just like in the moment. You know, the fact that you're just breathing right now, you know, you can see, or maybe you can still hear, you know, your heart's still beating in some way. Like there's just something, and we all gotta find it. No matter how many tries, no matter how many times it takes, how long it takes, you gotta keep trying for yourself. So, I believe in you. And please keep going for yourself, because you need yourself more than you'll ever know. So, yes, I hope this message has helped you. And yeah, have a good rest of your day. Bye.